The courtroom was a sanctuary of hushed whispers and polished wood as Cristiano Ronaldo took his place at the witness stand. Dressed in a simple dark suit, he looked every inch the professional, yet there was a quiet vulnerability in his eyes as he faced the judge. Judge Henry Wallace, a man known for his steely demeanor and piercing gaze, watched Ronaldo with an intensity that seemed to weigh every breath. The lawyer began with the obvious questions: headlines, sponsorships, the relentless glare of the media. But Ronaldo's answers were measured, his voice calm and even. He spoke of loyalty and of the quiet strength it took to withstand the endless scrutiny of the world. Each word was a testament to the years he had spent carrying the hopes of millions. The lawyer pressed harder, trying to find a crack in the calm facade, but Ronaldo's composure never faltered. His eyes never wavered from the judge's, and his voice never rose above the measured cadence of truth. Outside, the world waited for scandal, but inside, only the echo of integrity remained. The judge's questions were different, more deliberate, more probing. He asked not about the trophies or the fame, but about the man beneath the legend. Ronaldo answered with the quiet dignity of someone who had faced doubt before and found it wanting. The lawyer shifted tactics, bringing up old controversies and whispered rumors, but Ronaldo met each accusation with the same unflinching resolve. He spoke of lessons learned in the heat of competition, of the bonds forged in locker rooms and stadiums, of the silent promises made to those who shared his journey. As the afternoon light shifted, casting long shadows across the courtroom, Ronaldo's voice became a quiet anthem of defiance and self-respect. The final question hung in the air, a challenge wrapped in polite words. Ronaldo paused, drawing a slow breath, and answered not with fire, but with a calm certainty that left the room silent. The gavel fell, and for a moment, the only sound was the quiet heartbeat of the truth he had spoken. The morning sun cast a solemn glow over the courthouse as Ronaldo entered, his footsteps echoing softly in the marble hall. Today's proceedings carried a weight that even he, accustomed to stadiums filled with thousands, could feel in his bones. Judge Henry Wallace sat tall at the bench, his expression unreadable as he prepared to hear the next phase of testimony. The lawyer wasted no time, his voice a clipped staccato that cut through the quiet like a knife. He pressed Ronaldo about past controversies, about moments of anger and missteps under pressure. But Ronaldo's voice remained steady, a calm river of words that refused to be rushed. He spoke not in rehearsed soundbites, but in the honest, simple truths of a man who had learned the price of every choice. Each word was measured, each pause deliberate. The lawyer's tactics grew sharper, seeking to pierce the calm with insinuations and half-truths. But Ronaldo answered with a dignity that left no room for doubt. Judge Wallace watched, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully as he weighed the measured replies. The room was filled with the quiet intensity of two minds locked in a contest of will, one seeking cracks, the other building walls of calm determination. Outside, reporters speculated wildly, but inside, the air was heavy with something deeper than headlines. As the lawyer pushed harder, Ronaldo spoke of the lessons he had carried from every triumph and every setback, of the quiet promise he made to himself to always rise again. The judge leaned forward, his questions more deliberate, more curious. Ronaldo answered with the quiet conviction of a man who knew that truth was not always loud, but always present. As the final question fell away, there was a hush in the room, as if even the air was listening. Judge Wallace nodded, the gavel in his hand a silent promise that this day was not just another trial, it was a testament to the power of calm integrity in the face of doubt. The third day of testimony began with a quiet resolve. Ronaldo walked into the courtroom, his expression calm but unyielding. The lawyer's questions were sharper today, each one a calculated attempt to rattle the composed athlete. But Ronaldo did not flinch. He spoke in measured tones, each word chosen with the precision of a seasoned veteran. Judge Wallace observed from the bench, his gaze steady and unblinking. Outside, the world buzzed with speculation, but within these walls, the only voices that mattered were those of truth and resolve. The lawyer pressed harder, weaving a narrative meant to cast doubt on Ronaldo's integrity. He brought up old headlines, moments of heated exchanges on the pitch, and whispered rumors that had followed the footballer for years. But Ronaldo stood firm, his answers calm and unhurried. He spoke of the weight of expectation, of the silent discipline required to stand under the glare of a million eyes and still find his own voice. Judge Wallace leaned forward, his questions quiet but pointed. Ronaldo answered each one with the same calm grace, his words a testament to the lessons he had carried from every match, every victory, and every defeat. The lawyer tried again, but Ronaldo's resolve was like stone, his quiet certainty a shield against every insinuation. The afternoon light slanted through the windows, painting the courtroom in shades of gold and shadow. In that quiet space, every word felt sacred, every pause a chance to breathe. As the final question echoed in the stillness, Ronaldo took a breath, his gaze steady, and spoke with a quiet authority that needed no defense. The gavel fell, and as the echoes faded, there was a sense that something had shifted, something more lasting than headlines or rumors, something as solid and unyielding as the man who had spoken the truth in the face of doubt. The courtroom was filled with the weight of history and the quiet determination of Cristiano Ronaldo. Judge Henry Wallace sat like a sentinel of justice, his eyes scanning every detail of Ronaldo's calm presence. Today, the questions were more personal, reaching into the quiet corners of a life lived under the constant glare of public scrutiny. The lawyer's voice was sharp, his tone a challenge designed to fracture the calm. But Ronaldo met each question with the quiet resolve that had carried him through every trial, on and off the field. He spoke of honor, of the quiet promise he had made to himself to never falter. Outside, the cameras clicked and the world waited for scandal, but inside, the only sound was the quiet dignity of a man defending his name. Judge Wallace listened, his questions deliberate and thoughtful, probing not for the headlines but for the truth that lay beneath them. The lawyer pressed on, but Ronaldo's words were unshaken, a testament to the strength of quiet conviction. As the afternoon sun slanted through the tall windows, the shadows in the courtroom seemed to echo the quiet power of his voice. Every pause was a moment of reflection, every word a deliberate step in the quiet dance of truth and doubt. When the final question was asked, Ronaldo's answer was simple and profound, a quiet echo of the strength that had carried him to this moment. The gavel fell, and for a moment, the courtroom was silent, as if the world itself had paused to listen. Outside, the noise resumed, but inside, the quiet truth remained, unbroken and unbowed. As the fifth day of testimony dawned, the courtroom seemed to hold its breath. Cristiano Ronaldo entered with the same quiet composure, his footsteps measured, his gaze steady. Judge Henry Wallace watched closely, his questions more pointed now, seeking not just facts but the weight of intention and the quiet echoes of a life lived in the spotlight. The lawyer was relentless, his voice a steady drumbeat of challenge, but Ronaldo met each question with the same calm certainty. He spoke not of goals scored or trophies lifted, but of the silent battles fought in the hearts of those who never gave up. His voice was steady, his words chosen with care, a quiet testament to the lessons learned through years of discipline and resolve. Outside, the cameras waited, their lenses hungry for a slip, a crack in the calm. But inside, Ronaldo's presence was a quiet force, unmovable and unbreakable. Judge Wallace leaned forward, his questions sharp but fair, testing the edges of the story that had been carefully built. Ronaldo answered with the calm of a man who had walked through fire and emerged unscathed. The lawyer pressed harder, but each word from Ronaldo was like a stone placed with purpose, building a wall of quiet strength. As the final question fell away, the courtroom seemed to exhale, the silence a tribute to the dignity that had carried him through. The gavel fell, and for a moment, the world outside faded away, leaving only the quiet heartbeat of truth. The courtroom was a place of quiet reverence as the sixth day of testimony began. Cristiano Ronaldo stood at the witness stand, his expression calm, his shoulders square beneath the weight of expectation. Judge Henry Wallace watched with a careful eye, his questions deliberate and searching. The lawyer's voice was sharp, each question a test of patience and composure. But Ronaldo met each one with a quiet dignity, his answers measured and thoughtful. He spoke of responsibility, of the silent burden carried by those who lived their lives in the glare of the world's gaze. His voice was soft, but each word carried the weight of a promise kept. Outside, the cameras flashed and the world speculated, but inside, the only sound was the steady beat of resolve. The lawyer pressed on, his words a challenge wrapped in polite phrases, but Ronaldo's answers were unwavering, each one a quiet shield against the noise. Judge Wallace leaned forward, his questions more probing, but Ronaldo met them with the calm assurance of a man who knew that the truth needed no embellishment. As the afternoon light shifted, casting long shadows across the room, Ronaldo's voice became a quiet echo of the strength that had carried him this far. When the final question was asked, he answered with a simple truth that needed no defense. The gavel fell, and in that moment of silence, the world outside seemed very far away. As the seventh day of testimony began, a hush fell over the courtroom. Cristiano Ronaldo walked with measured steps, the weight of the day evident in the quiet set of his shoulders. Judge Henry Wallace watched him closely, his questions already forming in the stillness of the room. The lawyer was quick to begin, his voice sharp and unwavering as he tried to pierce the calm that surrounded Ronaldo like a cloak. But Ronaldo's replies were deliberate, each word a quiet anchor in the swirling sea of questions. He spoke of values learned on the pitch, of loyalty, of respect, of the quiet resolve to keep going even when the world was watching. Outside, the cameras buzzed and the world speculated, but inside, the only sound was the steady rhythm of honesty and dignity. The lawyer pressed harder, his questions twisting like a blade, but Ronaldo met each one with the calm of a man who knew that truth was not something to be shouted, but lived. Judge Wallace leaned forward, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully as he weighed each answer. The afternoon light streamed through the high windows, painting the courtroom in shifting gold and shadow. In that quiet chamber, Ronaldo's voice was a steady current, each word a testament to the strength it took to stand firm in the face of doubt. When the final question came, he paused, drawing a deep breath, and answered not with fire, but with a quiet certainty that left the room in breathless silence. The gavel fell, and for a moment, the only sound was the echo of that quiet strength, a reminder that some truths are spoken without raising a voice. The eighth day dawned with the weight of expectation hanging over the courthouse. Cristiano Ronaldo entered with the same calm presence, each step a silent promise to himself and those who watched. Judge Henry Wallace sat tall, his questions ready, his gaze steady as he prepared to probe deeper than before. The lawyer began without hesitation, his words a deliberate attempt to rattle Ronaldo's composure. But Ronaldo met each question with a quiet certainty, his answers calm and precise. He spoke of trust, of the bonds built in locker rooms and the promises made in the quiet hours of the night. Outside, the cameras clicked, eager for a misstep, but inside, the only sound was the measured cadence of a man who had spent his life proving his worth. The lawyer's questions grew sharper, but Ronaldo's replies never wavered, each one a quiet testament to the strength that lay beneath the surface. Judge Wallace leaned forward, his eyes reflecting the weight of the truth being spoken. The sun moved slowly across the sky, the light shifting in the courtroom, but Ronaldo's calm never faltered. Each word was a deliberate step, each pause a quiet breath of resolve. When the final question was asked, Ronaldo's voice was soft but certain, a quiet promise that could not be broken. The gavel fell, and in that still moment, the only sound was the echo of dignity. The ninth day of testimony carried a quiet gravity that filled the air. Cristiano Ronaldo stood at the witness stand, his calm presence like a steady flame in the shifting winds of doubt. Judge Henry Wallace watched closely, his questions more deliberate now, seeking the truth that lay beneath the calm. The lawyer's voice was a sharp blade, each question a test of resolve, but Ronaldo met them all with the same quiet dignity. He spoke not of glory or fame, but of the silent battles fought in the corners of the mind, of the quiet courage it took to stand alone. Outside, the cameras waited, but inside, the only sound was the measured rhythm of his answers. The lawyer pressed harder, his words wrapped in polite venom, but Ronaldo's replies were calm and deliberate, each one a stone in the foundation of his defense. Judge Wallace leaned forward, his questions quiet but pointed, probing for the heart of the matter. Ronaldo answered with the quiet assurance of a man who had spent a lifetime proving his worth in the crucible of expectation. As the afternoon light slanted through the tall windows, the room seemed to hold its breath. When the final question fell silent, Ronaldo paused, his gaze steady, and answered with a calm certainty that left the room hushed. The gavel fell, and in that moment of silence, the quiet strength of his words lingered like a promise. The final day of testimony dawned with a hush that settled over the courthouse like a blessing. Cristiano Ronaldo walked into the courtroom with a calm that spoke louder than any words. Judge Henry Wallace watched him with a quiet respect, his questions ready but tempered with the understanding that this was more than just a trial, it was a test of character. The lawyer's voice was sharp, his questions carefully crafted to provoke a slip, a crack in the calm. But Ronaldo's answers were measured, his voice steady and sure. He spoke not of the trophies he had won or the accolades he had earned, but of the quiet promise he had made to himself, to stand firm, to speak the truth, to honor the trust placed in him. Outside, the cameras buzzed and the world waited for scandal, but inside, the only sound was the quiet rhythm of a man who had learned that some truths are spoken not in shouts, but in the calm certainty of a steady voice. Judge Wallace listened, his eyes reflecting the weight of every word. The lawyer tried again, his questions twisting like a blade, but Ronaldo met each one with the calm resolve of a man who had faced doubt and found it wanting. When the final question was asked, Ronaldo paused, his gaze sweeping the room, and answered with a quiet strength that left the air still. The gavel fell, and in that moment of silence, the quiet dignity of his testimony stood as a testament to the power of calm in the face of doubt.